Hey everyone, so in the previous video I spoke about the December update and mentioned the Black Thorn Prison, the Dancer, and potential guild halls. So that's what we're going to look at today. And they've literally just put out an announcement on the Dancer skill set, which is now called Spelldance, because of course they're not going to just name it Dancer, which I knew they wouldn't, but here we are. We also got an official announcement about the Black Thorn Prison, so I'm going to take a look at that, and then we're going to look at some of the Korean patch notes to get an idea of what's going on with that dungeon and the kind of rewards that you'll get in there. And then on top of that, we're going to take a look at some of the guild revamps and the new guild manners that are coming to the game. So let's just dive right in, and we'll start with the Black Thorn Prison. Alright, so starting off with the Black Thorn Prison, this announcement just came out last night, and we've got a lovely little image of it here. Alright, and as we scroll down, we get a little bit of lore, a little bit of quest text right here, and at the very bottom, it mentions a Chronicles quest line, so this is probably going to give you a title, much like most of the other Chronicles quests, and it'll probably have you going in and out the dungeon over the course of the quest, maybe doing other stuff in the world, so we will see what that's like, but it's probably going to be very similar to the other Chronicles quests. And here we get some images of the dungeon, and you may also notice if we scroll down, a lot of the bosses in here look very similar. It looks like they're going to just be bosses we've faced before, but probably with more health, depending on the difficulty of the dungeon. Now, the dungeon itself is a 5-man dungeon, and you can enter it 3 times a day. And upon completing it, you'll get Black Thorn enhancers and a Black Thorn Key. And how this works is the first room you go into is like the lock room, and in there you can select the difficulty of the dungeon, going all the way up to 12. But to unlock these higher level dungeons, you'll need a higher level Black Thorn Key, and to level this up, you'll just have to use Black Thorn enhancers, which you'll get from completing the dungeon over time. Now, at the end of the week, it seems all this progress is then gone, and it's reset, and you've got to do the process again to get back up to the rank 12 dungeon. But we don't know how hard this is going to be, we'll just have to see. So it looks like there's only going to be 2 rooms in the dungeon overall. There's going to be the Thorn Lock room, where you select your difficulty with the key, and then there will be a boss room. And it says there's one of 3 stage 1 or stage 2 rooms for the bosses, so you'll defeat a stage 1 boss, and it'll be randomly generated between the 3 stage 1 bosses. You'll come back out, and then you'll go back in and face one of 3 random stage 2 bosses. And then after that, you can come back out and you're done with the dungeon, and then you can just do 2 more runs. Now, the rewards you get gradually increase depending on the completed level of the Black Thorn Prison. You can also acquire XP rewards by completing related weekly quests as well, so there's going to be some quests outside you can do. And you can also get abyssal crystals and other random items, much like you can in the library. And then it says you can defeat a specific boss to acquire the Disciples equipment chest, so library gear. I'm going to assume that's like a specific stage 2 boss or something. Who knows? But if we take a look at the Korean patch notes, we actually get a good look at what some of these rewards might be. So let's go ahead and bring some of those up. Alright, so these are very roughly translated, and I don't know if these are all of them, but we have 4 rewards here that we can show off. So it looks like in the first one, you get 1 abyssal enhancer. You'll then get a fortune box type thing. So if we look at this down here, it costs 250 labor to open, and has a chance of giving you anywhere from 10 to 200 gold. And then it looks like there's a chance at getting a sunlight or moonlight crystal. I'm going to assume that's a crystal. And then in the stage 5 reward, up here, you get 6 enhancers. There's another fortune box that has a chance of getting anywhere from 20 to 400 gold coins, and that's 400 labor to open. And then you'll get a sunlight or a moonlight crystal, and then there's a chance you can get an extra one of those as well. Then the stage 9 reward gives you 15 enhancers, and then there's a fortune box that gives you anywhere from 50 to 800 gold, and this is 680 labor to open. And then you also get 1 to 2 sunlight, moonlight, and then there's also a chance of getting an extra. And then the last stage, so this is the big reward, gives you 25 abyssal enhancers, and then a fortune box that will give you a minimum of 100 gold and a maximum of 1,000, so anywhere in between there you could end up getting quite a bit of gold off this. And then you get 3 sunlight or moonlight crystals, and then there's a chance at an extra, much like the other rewards. So that gives us a really good idea of what you'll be getting each week from this. So this is going to be an interesting dungeon. You can definitely make a lot of gold off it. and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so let's take a look at the Dancer, or, well, Spelldance as it's now called, because of course they're not just going to call it Dancer. I kind of knew this because they did the same where everyone was calling it Gunner, and it turned out to be Gunslinger in the end. So if we scroll on down, get a little bit of lore, and then it mentions the unique passive stacks, Happy and Sorrow, which I believe I called Joy and Sorrow in the translated video. So this is the same thing, where if you use skills to buff allies, it gives you +1 to your Happy stats and -1 to your Sorrow. And if you use skills that are harmful to enemies, it'll be +1 to your Sorrow and -1 to your Happy. And if you max one of either of these out, it'll be more effective. Now, we actually get a list of all the fully translated skills now as well, so I'll try and compare these to the ones that we translated. Maybe I'll just have them pop in on the side or something, and have them show up. So, first of all, at level 1, you get Dancer's Touch, which heals allies, so you can't heal yourself, but it'll heal allies, and if you use it on an enemy, it'll do magic damage. So if you heal an ally, that's +1 Happy, -1 Sorrow. If you use it to damage an enemy, that's -1 Happy, +1 Sorrow. And this is gonna be the same for pretty much all abilities, depending on whether you use it on an ally or an enemy. It'll be +1 or -1. At level 5, we get Divine Blessing, which is like an AoE heal, so it'll heal you and your allies, so it'll heal up to 8 raid members, and will give you +1 Happy, -1 Sorrow. Can't be used on pets though. Then at level 10, we get Divine Presence, which you use on yourself, and it increases your max health and increases PvE skill damage of Spelldance skills by a certain amount, and reduces the amount of damage you take in PvE as well. It doesn't have a global cooldown. Now, it doesn't actually show on any of these, it seems, what the duration or the range of some of these abilities are, so I believe in the versions we translated, it says on there, so I will pull those up somewhere and hopefully that'll help. Next up, at level 15, we get Communication, which is communicate with a target, amplifying certain effects. So I believe this was called Rapport when we translated it. And when used on an ally, it decreases all but debuff duration by a certain amount. And when used on an enemy, it reduces the health regen effect of healing potions, specifically, and flight speed by a certain amount. And then if you kill the hostile target, it resets the cooldown of this ability. And of course you have the +1 Happy, -1 Sorrow. And it can't be used on yourself, and it can't be used on world bosses. And it is also cancelled when the target moves out of range. So I think there's like a 25-meter range or something on this. Again, I'll have it up on the side, hopefully, so you guys can see. But yeah, this is an ability that combos with a few other abilities, so this is an important one. Next up at level 20, we have Psychic Shock, which is a very basic ability. I think it's an insta-cast, and you just use it on an enemy, and it deals damage over time, and gives you -1 Happy, +1 Sorrow. At level 25, we get the first dance, which is the Illusion Dance, which lasts for 10 seconds and targets up to 30 enemies, disabling drop back, teleportation, shadow step, and mirror warp. And using the skill also cancels the enemy's targeting on the caster, and makes you immune to pull and push effects. You get the -1 Happy and +1 Sorrow. And you also, I believe, are fixed in place. You can't move while using this ability, from what I remember. It also doesn't stack with other dance skills, so all the other dancer skills, or the dancers specifically, I believe combo with each other, so you use them in a certain order, and they all share cooldowns, so you've got to consider what order you use your dancers in. You then have Communication Blink at level 30, which you use in combination with Communication, and if it's a friendly target, you shadow step to them, and if it's an enemy, you shadow step to the front of them, pretty much. That's how it's going to work. And you'll get the +1 Happy, -1 Sorrow on an ally, -1 Happy, +1 Sorrow on an enemy. The skill also has a reduced global cooldown, and you can't pass through walls and obstacles like shadow step and other abilities, so it should work pretty much like shadow step. At level 35, we have the Dance of Calm, which starts a dance that calms the mind of allies. 10 seconds, 30 allies, and makes the allies immune to Shackle, Silence, Taunt, and Shake, which is big, but it does not affect the caster, so you can be silenced during it. At level 40, you then get the Dance of Hope, which heals up to 5 raid members within a 3-meter radius, and it lasts 10 seconds. It also includes yourself in this as well, and again, works like all the other dance skills. At level 45, we then get the Dance of Debuff, which reduces the amount of melee skill damage that enemies can do. This is specifically just for melee skill, which is interesting. and again, can't use with all the other dancers. So at level 50, you then get communication maximization, which reinforces communication, so it'll combo with that. On a friendly target, it'll make them immune to all harmful effects, and then on a hostile target, they then can't use the glider or use health potions. And of course, like the other one, it is cancelled when the target moves out of range, so you've got to stay close to your target. And then we have probably the most interesting ability in the Dancer's skill set, or the Spelldance skill set, which is the Dancer's Sacrifice, and this frustrates up to 30 enemies, causing them to take increased range damage by 20%. But more importantly for allies, it grants them temporary immortality and debuff immunity, but it also decreases received healing by 99%, and the caster loses 20% health every second they're casting this. So if you're below 21% health, you can't cast this ability. But it's a very interesting one. It seems like you could really do a lot with this. I don't know, it is very risky though, so I'm really curious to see how the Dancer is going to play out once it comes into play. Now here we get a look at the passives, which we never really got to look at in the translation, I don't believe, so this is new to us. We have the Dream Hunter's Daughter, which requires you to put 3 points into Spelldance, and this increases your skill damage and healing of Spelldance's skills by 7%. At 4 points you get Graceful, so time required for combo effects between dance skills increased by +1 second, so this will allow you to switch up your dances and keep comboing them. At 5 you get Nemia's Blessing, which increases received healing by 15%. At 6 you get Bond, which increases the range of communication and communication maximization by 5 meters. And then at 7 points you get Shush Shush Geo, which gives you silence immunity for the duration of any dance, it seems, which is pretty big. And then at 8, Emotion Maximization, so happy and sorrow effects doubled at minimum and maximum values. So very interesting. And now we get a look at the Spelldance ancestral skills, and it looks like there are 4 different ones that we can go ahead and look at. So we have the Dancer's Touch, and we have the Life subtype, which lets you use Dancer's Touch on yourself, but you can't use it on enemies. But you also get a heal amount of +15%. You then have Dancer's Touch Stone, which deals damage within a 1.5 meter radius through an earthquake effect, and allies cannot be healed, but decreases damage by 20%, and mana cost is now 60. So this looks like it's going to be giving you a AoE sort of effect at the cost of a bit of damage and not being able to actually heal people with this ability. And then the next ability we can change is Divine Presence, and that has one subtype, Wave, which changes certain buff effects through a wave effect, which doesn't tell us anything. It also excludes the health and PvE defense effects, and it additionally decreases the mana cost of Spelldance skills by 30%. Next up we have Divine Blessing, which you can choose between Gust and Earthquake. For Gust, it changes into a charging skill. Twice for a Gust effect, it requires 12 seconds to be fully charged, which is interesting. And then the Earthquake version of the skill changes it into a skill that deals damage within an 8 meter radius through an Earthquake effect, and it decreases the healing effectiveness by 20%. And then finally for the last ancestral we have Dance of Hope Flame, and this decreases skill range and increases skill effect in return for a flame effect. So health restoring objects hitting range is reduced from 15 to 8 meters, and hitting count is reduced from 15 to 12. But the health restoring objects effect range is I feel like they've got this wrong, but it is increased from 3 meters to 5 meters, and max players healed is increased to 8 from 5, I believe. And it also increases the heal amount by 20%. So this is if you want to do a lot more healing with this. So yeah, that is it for the Spelldance. Most of it was pretty much correct in the translation, so I'm going to line that up side by side so you guys can see as we go through, to hopefully give you some of the ranges and the cooldowns on there as well. Alright, quick pause. So while I was uploading this video, they dropped this article, which confirms a lot of what I say in this next segment. They also mention that you'll get a certain amount of prestige depending on the level of your guild back. So you can see here the amount of prestige you'll get. They confirm all the prestige shop changes, and then they also confirm the individual and group missions. So individual missions consist of 4 dailies and 1 repeatable mission, and they can be changed up to 3 times a day. And then the group missions are changed by your guild leader using prestige, and there's no limit on changing those, and rewards are then sent out in the mail whenever that's achieved. Another big thing they mention here is if you're a guild leader and you've been offline for 30 days, it will begin a search for a new guild leader. So candidates are going to be members with more than 1,000 prestige who were online within the last 7 days. And if there's more than one person, it's the person with the higher rank that will become the guild leader. And you'll get mail being told about that. So that's interesting. There's some mention of user interface stuff, which isn't that big of a deal. And here they confirm everything about the guild manners as well. So guilds purchase guild manners at level 5 as a full kit, and they're bought with prestige. Other than that, they also mention some of the future stuff like guild PvP battlegrounds and guild PvE dungeons, which is like future stuff for 2022. But yeah, that's everything pretty much confirmed. So yeah, let's get on with the segment. Alright, lastly, let's take a look at guilds and guild halls, because this looks like it's going to be a big focus for ArcheAge in 2022. So first of all, it looks like they've revamped the way guild missions work. It looks like you might even be able to replace them each day. And they've also been split into personal and group missions. So the translation's pretty rough here, but there's some guild missions that say gain experience. And then there's some that say open the door of space and time, which I believe might be referring to the guild halls and a teleporter that you have in there. Alright, and then we have group missions, which I assume are going to be an effort from the whole guild to complete. So there's stuff like earn honor scores in this translation, which I assume is honor points. So you probably have to earn a big number of honor points, and then there's one to complete personal missions, so it's probably to complete a certain amount of personal missions in the day, and that'll overall unlock the reward. It also seems like you can replace these as well using Prestige. Now, I assume the Guildmaster would have to do this, and it costs 30 Prestige, and I also believe Prestige is going to be changed, so some of the stuff in the guild store is going to be retired, so cloaks, I think, are now going to be moved over to honor points instead. And some of the other items in there are no longer going to be sold for prestige. And you'll find prestige is used for group stuff like changing guild missions or the new guild focuses. So as you can see here, we have a focus called Slayer, and this increases the PvE damage that everyone does in the guild by a certain amount, all the way up to at least 8%. And to level this up, it looks like you're going to need a guild management item and a certain amount of prestige for each stage of this. And I don't know what the other focuses are, but it looks like you can spec into any of them, because as you can see here, there's 3 points in another one, and there's 2 in another one further down as well. I'm going to assume some of these are going to involve move speed, or PvP damage, or received PvP damage, or something along those lines, but I don't have any confirmation on that just yet. And then we get to the guild mansions or guild halls, and these seem to be bought for prestige, and I believe they're also taxed for prestige. You don't get heavy taxation according to this, but it is affected by hostile tax rates, so if you build your guild manor on the opposite continent, you're gonna get taxed more. It looks like there's also going to be guild-specific furniture that the guildmaster can purchase, and I believe you buy these for prestige as well. So again, there's going to be a heavy focus on earning prestige as a guild to get all of this set up. There'll also be merchants that are always in the guild hall as well, so guild members can make use of those. And on top of that, there's also a guild teleporter. So in the corner of the room, there's this like teleporting looking device, which you can activate for 7 days using a item you buy from the prestige shop. And this will let you move between different guild bases that you record. So I don't know how useful this will be, but it's cool that it's there. It's interesting. I believe these mansions are probably going to be the usual mansion size. I can't imagine these being bigger, because we don't have the room. But I imagine a lot of guilds are going to be rushing to get these down come the land rush on December 11th. Well, that's if they can afford it, that is, because I'm not sure how much it's going to cost to buy one of these mansions. But yeah, overall, it looks like guilds are going to be a heavy focus for ArcheAge in 2022, and they're going to be making it so you really have to work together to make some of this stuff work, and we'll see how it all plays out. I think the idea is really cool, but yeah, we'll just see. So that's about it for this update video. There's some future stuff they mention as well, like a new zone that we're going to be getting further down the line, but I don't believe this is coming in the December update. But it's interesting to note we are getting more zones coming as well, so that's something to look out for. Alright, so that's it for this video. So come December, we will look more in depth into some of these, because we don't have all the details. and I'll try and make something specifically going over each of the new things. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff, and I will see you in the next video.